what's up, everybody? Kyle Buckland here with the Plein Air Painters of the Southeast. Super excited to bring you this very first episode of our PAP-SE podcast. I'm going to be interviewing our members, and we'll be posting those interviews to the YouTube channel here so that you can learn a little bit more about our members and their approach to painting. So thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell for notifications to stay updated with new videos. And also, you can give this video a thumbs up, and that'll help us out a whole bunch. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Plein Air Painters of the Southeast podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Buckland, and really excited to have Beverly Ford Evans with us today. Hey, Beverly, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know all our viewers will be excited to hear from you. So we'll jump right in. The first question I want to ask you is, how did this artful life happen to you? When was it that you knew, okay, I want to do this? I want to be an artist.
Probably always wanted to be an artist, but being an artist was not encouraged as you were leaving high school back in my day. So I became an interior designer, went a creative direction, but became an interior designer, but always wanted to paint, but didn't know how to make that transition. And ultimately I got to a point where I physically couldn't keep up with the interior design business. And it's like, okay, this is my chance. I'm gonna figure this out.
And just jumped in.
Jumped in.
Sometimes that's how you have to do it. So that kind of leads into the next question. How has your journey as an artist evolved over time?
I've gone from being a very bad painter to a better painter.
Yeah, I think that's a common experience.
Yeah.
I always tell my students, I say, if you're in my class painting masterpieces, then you're wasting your money. So get it.
Why are you here?
We have to start somewhere, right?
I started with acrylics just to figure out what a brush does again, and playing with mixing colors and just drawing and color combinations, but I didn't connect with them like I wanted to, and I wanted to paint in oils, so I finally took some classes and figured oils out and never looked back.
Yeah, I imagine some of your background in interior design helped play a role sometimes with color choices and thinking about color harmony. I mean, I'm sure you had to know what groups of colors looked good together. And
yeah, I think it helped with composition and design too.
Yeah, oh sure, right, because that's a lot of it is just figuring out, okay, I put this here, then I have to put this over here and make this look good. So.
And I sold a lot of original art when I was an interior designer.
Oh, so you had the opportunity to see
I had an opportunity to see a lot of good art. Where I live, I was surrounded by Don Whitelaw and Pam Paget and Paula Frisbee and Jason Saunders and Michael Shane Neal. And I was selling their work. And so I had years of watching them develop. And
I can imagine that kind of got the wheels turning.
It did.
Like, oh, I want to do this. Like
it did. And it was through one of their groups workshops that I first went back to.
Oh, cool. So that kind of leads into this next question. So who or what would you say have been the most influential forces on your work?
That group.
That group of artists?
That group of artists,
just being around them and...
Being around them. And then, from them, and just being, I used to go to the PAP-SE workshops when I was not a PAP-SE member. So being around those artists, also at the time, a big one was Larry Moore was one of the beyond Roger Dale Brown and Paula and Dawn and
You know, what a great group to be surrounded by,
I
right?
know,
So
I know. I was a little blessed.
you almost just learn through osmosis, just being around all those painters, right? I feel like that when I come to these retreats sometimes. I'm like, oh, I just come away so inspired, and you know, you just get to see everybody and how they're working and what they're thinking. And
It really is inspiring because what we do is very solitary
yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of time spent just by yourself out in the field or in the
in the
studio,
studio,
and then you come together and share ideas,
and you're in your own head, you know, so much that
Yep. Do you consider yourself primarily a studio painter, a plein air painter, or a blend of both, would you say?
I would say I'm a blend of both. I think I'm a better studio painter because of plein air painting. I don't spend as much time plein air painting today as I did. I do spend more time in the studio, but there's such value in the plein air side of it. And when I go out, I'm going out to study, not create a painting.
Yeah, I think I always tell students, I say, go outside, make sure you can paint in the studio, that's fine, but you can paint from photograph, that's fine, but make sure you've been outside and looked at, what things look like, and more importantly, what it feels like
What
to
it
be
feels
out
like.
there, because that's what we're trying to do anyway with our work, right? It's not just about what something looks like, but it's more about how we feel and
Yeah.
to get into that emotion.
It's interesting when I paint from a photograph in the studio and I haven't been outside in a while. I can tell the difference in my work because you then start relying on the photograph and its values and its tones because you get away from that plein air experience.
Yeah,
And the tones are just different than in a photograph. The values are different. The darks are not as dark. The lights are not as light.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And even, I even tell painters that are interested in still life painting and figurative painting, I said, just go outside and just see the light, set up a still life out in your backyard, or, put a figure out under a tree and paint that, because the light is just so different when you're outside than if you're taking a photograph. So
That's true.
So this next question, this could be a philosophical or a technical, however you want to take it. But what is your first, what is the initial starting point for you when you go to start a painting? What's the first thought process, or what do you look for when you're first beginning a painting? And that could be plein air or studio, I guess.
I mean, the very first thing is something that visually I connect with. It's like, that's beautiful. Then I look at it and go, can I make a painting out of that? And often you can't. It's the composition is so out of whack, the design is so out of whack that you can't even rearrange to make it work. At least this brain can. So, a visual impact is my first go-to. I think my mood has a lot to do with it too. Do I want to paint something quiet today? Do I want to paint something with more energy in it?
Yeah, I think that's important, thinking about the feeling. I mean, we were just talking about the emotion or the feeling of the landscape and how that affects you, but also knowing, like you said, how you feel and what kind of story you want to convey can be really important. Sometimes you see students and they'll just go out in the field and plop down and start painting before they even know what's moved them or anything. And then they get halfway through, they go,
why am I painting this?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, it's like, and then, and so.
Where's my focal point?
Yeah, so I say, what's your story? What are you wanting to tell in the work? And that, it doesn't mean you have to have a narrative, a clear-cut narrative in every painting, but just having some concept of, what is it? What's the painting about, right? So,
if you're not connected, the viewer's not going to be connected.
Right, yeah. Have you had the opportunity to do any teaching or mentoring?
I have done just a very small amount of teaching. I do help Roger in his workshops. So, as the one standing up there in front, very little of that.
But you have had the opportunity to go around and work with
But
some
I
painters. And,
do. I'm the second voice in his workshops.
how have you found that that has affected your own work or your own
Oh,
process?
absolutely
Is it?
helps
Yeah.
my own work because, you know, I have to see what's needs help in their work and then be able to articulate it, which just drills it into my head too.
Then the next time you're working on something, you
It's
go,
like,
oh,
oh
yeah, I can hear
yeah,
myself
I
telling
can hear
somebody else
myself
that. Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah, I've found myself having to get out and do stuff that I might not. I mean, I find myself telling my students, oh, make sure you're getting out and drawing. And then I'm thinking to myself, I
I
hardly
need to
ever
do
draw. I
that.
need to get out my charcoal and go out and draw. So I think sometimes it kind of forces us to
Practice what you
practice
preach.
what we preach. Yeah. So I think that's a great thing. And I think, whether we know it or not, I think we're always teaching, whether we're teaching in a formal setting or just sharing our work with others and sharing our inspiration behind it. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are many people who will watch this and learn a lot from it. So I think that's just one of the wonderful things about getting out there. And I used to have this philosophy that I could just kind of stay hidden away in my little corner of southwestern Virginia and use the internet to sell my work, but it didn't work. I had to get out there and meet people and talk to people. And so I think it's just, and then they get to learn a little bit about the artist. So I think that's really a wholesome kind of thing, a relationship that happens between
Yeah.
artists and
There are so many artists that are really good artists that do just stay in their little corner.
yeah.
And some of them that's all they want. That's fine.
for them,
And
yeah.
that works for them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if your desire is to go beyond that, then
Yeah.
you got to get out.
Yeah, I've found that it's helped my work tremendously and my career and my confidence in myself, and being able to talk to people about my work, I think, is important. So teaching, I'll put you on the spot here. If you could just teach one concept to a student, what would that be?
Variation in brushwork.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. And
That's
just
the one thing I see in the workshops is the lack of variation in brushwork, whether it's how they, not just whether how, but in conjunction with how they hold it, using the edge of it, using the tip of it, scrubbing, having a soft touch. There's so many students have just one touch. This is how I hold my brush. This is how I paint. I paint like this, or I paint like this. And just having variation in your brushwork.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I'm a big on mark making. I love the variety of marks.
You don't need any help in
But I love that. I've been playing with gouache
varying
lately
brush.
because it's gouache. So you put it down and it just sits
It's
right
there.
there. And so it really you have to vary the way that you're putting it on there, because it just would, like you said, you don't want it to all look the same. And so
All the same
yeah,
dot.
that's right. So I think that's great advice. Have you ever had a period of time where you felt like, what the classic artist block, or that you hadn't painted for a while? You ever feel any of that, or do you kind of keep?
I have to take breaks.
Do you?
I cannot paint every day.
Well, and that was going to be my next
for
question. How do you
days in a row.
overcome that? So
Or else I get artist block and I get stale and my work gets stiff. And I'm a pretty tight painter anyway. And you make that get stiffer, and that's not a pretty thing.
yeah, well, that's nice to find that balance between working and then taking time to. I was talking with one of the other artists, and we were talking about Andrew Wyeth, and Andrew Wyeth said, I believe I do more painting when I'm not painting.
Oh, I never, unfortunately, this never stops.
Yeah.
But because I'll get, like I've got 3 started at home waiting on me. And I've been painting on them all week.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll do that sometimes. I feel like I'm painting in my sleep. You wake up and it's time to paint. You think, haven't I just finished painting? I feel like I've been painting all night long or something.
So one of the paintings I've got at home is a rock wall with a fox in it. And all of the rocks around here, I'm like, okay, how does that rock look? Look at the colors in that rock. I've just been studying different aspects of the different parts of the paintings that I'm working on. So it's
Yep.
always painting up there.
Yeah, I tell people, I say, you will not be bored. If you get into this and you fall in love with the process, it's, the next time you're waiting in line, you're going to be looking out the window and going, is that tree darker or lighter than that mountain back there?
Exactly.
And how's that relate to this carpet in here? And is that more saturated red? I mean, I'm constantly doing that. And then, you're either looking at art, you're going to museums, going to galleries, looking at art books. I mean, it's just, what is it? Soroya says, stay in the paint, whether you're painting or not.
Whether you're wet with it or not.
Yeah, that's right. You're always thinking about it. What would you say has been one of your greatest challenges? And this could be, in your work or in your career, but as an artist, what would you say?
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence. And that's not the first time we've heard that here on the podcast, and I think that's wonderful because I want everybody out there to hear that and to realize that even the pros at this level, we're still kind of looking back and going, is this good? Is this you have to keep pushing yourself?
Because one, we're perpetual students. We don't know it all. We're not ever going to know it all. We're going to die not knowing it all. No matter how famous and how fabulous your work is, you don't know it all. And to have just the confidence that you're doing it right, and knowing that you don't know it all, it's like, I feel like an imposter.
And sometimes, and it's like, I think we all go through some of the same stuff. There's so many commonalities when you're painting professionally. But for me, I always think, gosh, that's what makes it interesting, that there is no end to it, that it's this constant learning. And, when I wake up each day, I have to go, what can I do next? What haven't I tried? Or how could I push this way? Or, I feel like I've been painting kind of tight for a while. What if I force myself to loosen up? Or I've been painting real big. What if I force myself to paint real small? And so I'm always kind of pushing myself because you're right. There is no end to it. But,
and then spending the time researching other artists that paint a genre that you're interested in and seeing how they handle different situations and can I adapt that into the way I work, into my style. And
so what's your remedy for that, would you say, for that challenge of self-confidence? What would you say is the best way to get over that?
Suck it up, buttercup.
Just get out there.
Get out there.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I had a show, I felt like I was standing in the middle of the room naked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're just, all of your emotions and your thoughts and your desires and love is just out on the walls and you're being judged. Whether you're being judged or not, you feel like you're being judged. And in a way you are, because people are responding.
Yep.
And
poured your heart into it.
Poured your heart into it, and you just hope the response that you're receiving or that you're evoking into them is a positive one.
This next question is one of my favorites. Do you believe that art is for the artist, for the audience, or for both?
Both.
Both. Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Absolutely. I think it's for both. Because if you're only painting for the audience, you're being a machine. And where's the pleasure in that for you? And if you don't have pleasure in painting, then you're not going to produce a piece of work that could be your best work.
Yeah.
It could still be a beautiful piece, but it lacks you.
Yeah, and for me, it's funny because I'll put a painting out and someone will see it and they're having an experience, and you really don't know. You can try your best to convey a certain scene a certain way, and then somebody else is going to get it and they're going to filter it through all their experiences. And so they might experience it slightly differently, and somebody else will see it and see something different in it, and they're all perfectly valid, but could be completely different experiences from the same piece, and it might
For
be
the same
completely
piece.
different from how you experienced it when you painted it. So I think that's very true, that it's got to be for both the artist and the audience at you know, at some point they get to take it and it becomes their experience too. So,
Yeah.
you know, I always tell people too that one of the wonderful things about having original art around is that when you know, my wife and I, we collect paintings too, and I never get tired of seeing them. I mean, I can look at the same painting every day and enjoy it, you know, and see it. And then it enriches my experience. When I'm out, you know, next time I go by a barn or so, I see the barn in a different way because of the painting of the barn that I have in my house or whatever. So it's really, really nice to have original paintings around, and there's just something so nice about, you know, being able to experience a painting firsthand as
Yeah.
opposed to seeing it in a book or online. Do you have any certain feelings, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but do you have any certain feelings or messages that you like to share through your work, or is it just dependent on what painting it is? And
I think it depends on what painting it is, because, you know, I paint a lot of wildlife and birds, as well as just straight landscapes. So I don't know.
kind of a tricky question,
Kind of a
right?
tricky question. You know, I always just want it to be a positive reaction. I don't want somebody to feel sad or it to evoke a bad memory.
Yeah, so to have that kind of have the scene resonate with the viewer sort of in the same way that it resonated with you, would you say? Great. So what's up next? What's on the horizon for you? What are you excited about coming up? Coming up?
Resting.
I heard that. I vote for that too. So.
We've had a very busy year.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's nice you said, you know, that's one way to recharge your artistic soul, is to kind of take a break. And I'm a big believer in that too. I always say after I do a plein air event, I go home and take a nap for about a week, and then I'm ready to go again.
I've got a show at a museum that opens November 8th, and after that, I'm done for the year, except for just I'll stay in the studio when I want to and paint.
Yeah.
But I have no obligations out there until next January.
Yeah, well, you deserve it. You've been working hard all year. So, well, it's been great chatting with you. If people want to see more of your work, where can they go?
BeverlyFordEvans.com.
Awesome. And we'll put that.
You can also go to the PAP-SE website.
Yeah. And we'll put both of those websites in the link in the description down below so that you all can check those out.
On my website, it's got a list of my galleries, and they hold the work that is available. My website work is not necessarily available.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm sure
Thanks
everybody.
for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.